So I think we are live. We're going to see if technology cooperates tonight. But I'm so excited to be going live here with Mimi Cole. And she is incredible. She's a therapist in training. She really focuses on anxiety and OCD and everyone. And hello. Okay. I think I can get Mimi.
I think it's working. We will see. Yeah, I hope y'all's Thanksgiving week is off to a good start. I know I am working on packing, which takes me way longer than it probably should. So I am attempting to do that. It still says connecting. Let's see. Okay, let's retry this. Okay, did not work. Huh. I'm being told y'all can see Mimi, but I can't. Yes, I see you.
Yay!
Technology is not usually my friend, so it's
That's
okay.
okay.
It's so good to see you. Hi.
Hi, you too. How are
It's
you?
good. How are you? How's your Thanksgiving week off to?
It's good. I finally
Good.
finished all my finals and everything, so I'm really
I'm
excited.
so jealous. That's amazing. So tell everyone you're a therapist in training and
Yeah,
you're at UNC.
UNC. Yes.
Amazing. And what
Yeah.
year are you? Or like how long do you have left?
Yeah. So this is my first year in the program, and then I have one more year after this.
That's awesome. And that's what I was kind of saying. It seems like you really want to specialize with like eating disorders, OCD, anxiety. Is that kind of your passion? It sounds like.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay.
Uh,
So we got some really good questions for tonight. So I'm just going to dive in if that works for you.
yeah, I'm so ready.
So first, I feel like Thanksgiving is you go to whatever the occasion is, this time maybe over Zoom or in person. And I feel like we're, first of all, instantly met with like appearance comments. And then we like sit down to eat and it's like diet talk. So how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so. Weight comments, I think there are a lot of ways to go about it. There's, the please don't talk to me about my body or
Yeah.
talk to me about size. I'm really direct. There's also,
Mm-hmm.
changing the topic completely and saying, like, how's your week going or something.
Yeah.
And then you can also address diet culture and say, like, my
Mm-hmm.
size isn't really an indication of
Yeah.
my health or my worth. And, I would really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate if we talked about something else. So
Yeah.
there's really a lot of ways to handle that. And it's kind of interesting that when we're gathering for a time of like gratitude, which is, what Thanksgiving has become about, it's
Mm-hmm.
important that we are really focusing on the moments and being with
Yeah.
other people and recognizing how harmful those comments can be.
Yes, definitely. And I do think people sometimes say it without realizing. It's just in our society so like we're trained to notice those things or to talk about those things.
Yeah.
And I think just changing that conversation. And kind of another question, it said like, how do you advocate for yourself? So you said like, you can be really direct or like change the topic. And something I know I found is I would kind of like rope someone in almost and be like, hey, like this is what I want not talked about, like, and kind of have them stand up for me, like in the beginning of my journey. Um, I don't know, have you kind of found success with that or found people that has helped?
Yeah. So none of my family members are
super familiar with Health at Every Size and kind of that concept, which I've been kind of trying to teach them about, which is exciting.
Awesome.
But so I don't really have people to enlist at the moment. However, I found it really helpful to text friends and be like, this is something that was said, and almost make it like a joke, like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing someone said. And then also I think setting boundaries beforehand can be really helpful. So saying things like, you know, a lot of times we aren't aware of how things affect us, but it really hurts me when you talk about my body, or it's really hard for me to talk about the content of the foods or the volume of the food. So could we talk about, you know, other things? Could we be neutral about our conversations about food so they're not moralized and things like that?
Yeah, I think that's really important. I know for me, my mom was kind of the one that would like try to steer the conversations back. And it's so funny because even like, you know, everyone in my family and friends now know, like, you know, I'm recovered and share my story and all this, but they still make those comments. And I always joke that last year my grandparents came to town, and like first night we sit down at dinner and my grandpa's like, how much do you weigh? And my mom, like, she is sweet, so trained. She's like, we don't talk about and like, and so I kind of told him, I'm like, you know, I don't weigh myself, like I don't get on the scale like that, you know, something like I've worked on. And he's like, good for you. But it, you know, was like, that's just like some people, like that was just like his first question. I'm like, well, it's good to see you. But
yeah, you're so right. Like, I think it's even interesting to note too how like people will say, oh, I won't talk about weight, but then they'll go into like calories or they'll go into something else, and you're like, does it not connect for you that those are all related? But
I know. I think like it is like once I learned about like Health at Every Size and intuitive eating, like it's like I see like diet culture and diet talk everywhere, and I'm like, no, like here, join me. Like,
yeah.
you know. So, you know, a lot of us, some of us, our friends, our family know we have struggled with whether it's an eating disorder, you know, body image, anxiety, whatever. And someone said, like, how do you deal with like the judgment from others? Maybe it's, you know, that like you're missing the holidays because you're in treatment, or, you know, something. How do you deal with that judgment from others that maybe don't understand like mental health as much?
Yeah, I think there's some radical acceptance that goes into it of they might not understand as much as you do, and they aren't on that same journey as you are at the same time. And that can be really, really hard because you're learning and you're really changing and growing. And you really want everyone to kind of be on board with the same things that you're learning about. And so I think there's first some radical acceptance, and then kind of like I said before, but boundaries in advance have been really helpful for me. So kind of talking about like, this is what's really good for me and this is what's really, really hard for me. So maybe we can talk about it before we go into Thanksgiving, or before I come home, we can have this conversation so that we can be prepared.
Yeah. I'm sure like you, like in grad school, I like whenever boundaries were brought up, I was kind of like, oh, because like I've always had issues setting that. And so like I'm always like, oh, and like when I have to talk about it with clients, I'm like, oh, that's hard. You know, they'll be like, well, I don't like setting boundaries. I'm like, I don't either. I get it. Like, but it's like, it's so important. And I mean, that's what I found. Like, that was kind of like one of the last pieces of my like recovery puzzle, was like learning to stand up for myself and set those boundaries, even though I hated every second.
Yes, it can be so uncomfortable, and it's not, we're not taught to set boundaries. I think that's really wild. But, you know, we're always taught to like be flexible and bend with other people and put other people first, but we really often forget about ourselves, and we forget about what's that what's caring for us is what's caring for other people as well.
I feel like that could like be a quote somewhere. I like want to write it down. I love that. It is, because when we care for us, we can care better for others. It's that like you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, yeah, definitely. So something that like I was taught recently is going into like the holidays or an event or something with like an intention of like, what do you like want to focus on, kind of, if there is stress, you know, I know in my family drama maybe, or whatever it may be. What like are some intentions people could set going into the holidays to kind of like focus on, to take their focus off of whether it's, you know, food talk, weight talk, just in general anxiety. I feel like this time of year, especially with COVID, is so high anxiety and so high stress for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I think setting like small intentions can be really setting us up for success. And so I think maybe a goal could be find more joy in the days, and really write down like what brought me joy
Love
each
that.
day, or
Hmm.
connection, which is really hard during this time. But maybe Zoom calls, or maybe it's FaceTimes, or just different things where we can connect with other people, whether
Hmm.
it's outside, or whether it's, over a technology platform.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that connection. And I think for me, like I have a niece and nephew, so that's what like I'm focusing on like them and like, their joy and which is probably gonna be like bubbles or something random. But just like those like it is that like finding joy in like the little things, I think, in the little moments.
Yeah.
Um so I don't know, have you dealt with this? I know for me for a long time, I go into the holidays with like, okay, I have to get the Instagram perfect picture and the Instagram perfect post today.
Yes.
Okay. How, and like you have such an amazing Instagram account, which everyone needs to go follow you because like everyone at the Alliance, we are all like talking about it. It's amazing.
Thank
So
you.
how do you though balance that like not just focusing on like getting the perfect post, the perfect
Mhm.
picture, and like living in the moment while like for you like also like supporting others through your platform?
Yeah. So I sometimes think about it like, so if I'm eating something, for example, and I want to post a picture of it, I think to myself, like, is my perfectionism getting in the way? Probably. Like, it's okay if it's imperfect. What's the message? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is it getting it across? Sometimes with like creating the little highlighted parts of the post is really tough for me because I want it to be just right and centered and everything. And so I really have to think about like, do I have capacity, first of all, to respond to comments and support people
Mm-hmm.
as best I can if I post this? Or like, is the message getting across even though it doesn't look perfectly as I want it to look? So
Mm-hmm.
I really just have to think about like, what's the purpose of posting right now? Do I have capacity to handle possibly negative feedback from these? And also just thinking about too, like sometimes it's really hard when a post does quote really well, like people are really
Mm-hmm.
engaging with it and people really like it, and then the next day I'm like, shoot, I have to post something just as good. And I really have to sit with that and say, you know what, like this next post might not be as resonant
Mm-hmm.
with other people, and that's okay. Like I just have to keep showing up because it's important to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. McCall put Insta real, not Insta perfect. And I think that's so true.
Yes.
I think we scroll through, and I know sometimes I'll just aimlessly scroll. And it's like all these, photoshopped or like the beautiful background and, some tropical island and,
Yes.
like, yeah. Okay. And so, like advocating for yourself, how have you found that balance and like with the holidays and stuff of like self-care when you are like learning and in a profession of helping others?
Yeah, I really have to. One thing I've learned is in engaging with people in DMs and in real life as well is that I can't take on everything for everyone. And so I really have to. Sometimes I feel like I'm being a little bit mean or I'm being a little bit short with people, but it's
Mm-hmm.
really important to me to say, like, I can't offer you everything that I have because I'm just one person. And, sometimes that looks like not responding to all my comments or not responding to all my messages, or it looks like just not carrying that heaviness. A lot of people say, like, I can never be a therapist because I feel things too deeply. And I don't think that's, problematic. It's just how we kind of cope with that feeling. Because I think it's beautiful when we care for other people. And
Mm-hmm.
when we're really empathetic and sensitive to people's emotions, but also when we learn to set boundaries and we learn that we're important as well and that we can't
Mm-hmm.
give to others when we're just kind of depleted. It really helps us to care for people in a way that actually is helpful for them and for us.
Yeah. And I know we talked like you're getting ready for your internship and I'm in mine now. And I'll be honest, like some days I get in the car and like I just want to cry because stuff is heavy. And that's when like I focus on like, okay, what can I do tonight for me? Like what of this do I need to bring to my own therapy session and talk about? You know, because I do think that like we have to take care of ourselves, which is hard, especially during the holidays.
Yes.
When it's like about like, you know, being thankful and giving and everything, it's like focused on helping others, and you don't want to seem, I don't know, I feel like people say selfish. I always try to say it's like self-compassionate. I know we talk about it a lot, you know, because if we're not giving back to ourselves, like it's not, I know for me, like I'm gonna like run out of energy and just be not very helpful to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to
Mm-hmm.
kind of consider that we don't have to always be giving. I really love Glennon Doyle. She talks about like I love her, like
She's
the
so great.
of women is like to be selfless, and like that's without self, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
beautiful and true. And I think it's important to remember that like we are part of, you know, caring for others, because our self-care is really intertwined with our interdependence with other people and how we show up in the world and receive and all those things. So
Yeah, definitely. And I think like it's like and then, so I feel like part of the holiday season, I feel like, especially with those with eating disorders, you get hit like 3 times because you have Thanksgiving and then Christmas and then like the January, you know, fitness hit that comes. So like that's like a 3 month almost, I'm doing math right, time of like really high stress and really high everything.
yeah.
Like how, and then it's like for so many, like back to school or like back to work after having time off. How do you not get like treatment, recovery, whatever burnout from working so hard on like everything?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is normalizing like not liking therapy sometimes and not liking doing the work. Because I always say like I'm a big fan of therapy and I'm a big believer in it. But recently it's been really hard for me, just because we're digging into deeper topics. And so right now I don't know that I love therapy so much, just because it's hard, you know, and I think people resonate with the idea that like it's not always supposed to be these mind-blowing insights every week, and it's not always supposed to be like a fun, exciting thing that you do. Sometimes it's just working through, it's really, really difficult. It's sitting there and sitting with the emotions and tolerating the distress and discomfort that comes along with learning how to eat intuitively again. And so I think taking it a little bit at a time, finding support systems, and especially finding kind of insulated spaces where people are on the same page as you. I really found my support groups helpful, and those friends in them to be able to text and to share things with during the holiday season. And so really just having extra layers of support and finding, you know, support groups like the Alliance have, and finding Instagram accounts and just like curating your feed, and there's lots of ways to find those spaces.
Yeah, you just said like so many good things all in one. So definitely agree that like therapy is not always fun. I'm a big believer, like if you don't at some point want to like yell at your therapist, like you're probably not working on real stuff that often. Yeah. And I joke that like I'm probably the nightmare client. But you know, that's life. And but yeah, and I think too, like finding people that can support you and love you and care for you. And also you said like, you know, making your feed like positive and supportive. And I've even found that with music. Like I found recently that like all of my songs that like I just loved and listened to on repeat were like very depressing songs. I didn't even like realize it. And then like I totally changed that and like started getting new music, and it really helped. Like it was such a little thing, but it's made a ton of difference. And I think sometimes it is that just like filling us up with good things and like positive things is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I recognize, like my therapist pointed out, that I read a lot of self-help books and a lot of like deep, heavy books. And I was like, oh, like that is interesting. My whole world is therapy school and therapy books and all these things. And so really integrating some lighter things and some more happy things has been really helpful.
I'm literally the exact same way. Like, they're like, well, what do you do that's like not related to like work or school? Or I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, you mean there's other things in life? Like, yeah. Yeah, I did the same thing. I had to like start watching like funny shows at night instead of
Yeah.
like documentaries. And once again, made
Yep.
made a good amount of difference. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yes.
So what is your, I love quotes. So I try to ask people like, what's your favorite quote
Oh, wow.
or a couple?
Gosh, anything that Glennon writes is my favorite.
I love her.
I'm a big
Love
fan.
her. Yes.
I really like, I'm gonna butcher this and not say it right, but something about how like the seed has to die and break down in order to grow. I think that's so beautiful that we not necessarily have to hit rock bottom, because I don't believe in that. But that there's a lot of unlearning and a grieving process and a death process of like things have to die to grow. And I think that's so beautiful because it really resonates with like unlearning things and with becoming and blooming and all those beautiful representations in nature of our lives and the rhythms. So yeah.
I love that. And I feel like that's like so significant of like therapy recovery from anything, because I do think it sometimes feels worse before it feels better. Which is like for so long where I would quit. I'm like, it's not supposed to feel worse. So I'm done. Like, have fun. Bye. But it's like this like breaking down and then like becoming like who you want to be, not who people are telling you you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is hard. It's a hard process to find.
Oh yeah. There's a
and
lot
I feel
of...
like it's a lifelong process probably. But,
yes.
Yeah. So what are some good, just like general coping skills, de-stressing tools for like, you know, Thanksgiving Day, holidays, when you're high stress in the moment and like, you know, I know we talked about texting friends is a great one. What our clinical director, Dr. H, said one time, and always like I tell it to so many people, she's like, go to the bathroom. She's like, say, excuse me, I have to go to the restroom, and like excuse yourself and, you know, like take a break. And I'm like, that's like such a good, simple one. And it like it's like gives yourself like a timeout to like sit and think and like figure out like, okay, what do I want to do next? Like, do I need to de-stress? Do I need to like phone a friend, like use lifelines? Like, I don't know. Did you ever watch those shows like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It was on a long time ago, I think. But they had like lifelines, and one was like phone a friend, and like so I sometimes think of things like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because I was just thinking. So I worked in a treatment center for a little while, and I know that if anyone's watching it from this, they're like, "Do not go to the bathroom because you are not allowed."
That's true. Good point.
You can go to a closet. Bathroom can be a symbol for anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think another one that I really liked from my first eating disorder therapist, she gave me this sheet, and it's called Delay, Distract, Decide. And so you delay the urge. Maybe it's like you set an intention to delay it for 5 minutes, and then you distract yourself with something else, and you come back to it and you think, do I really want to do this? Is this really in alignment with my values? And you kind of reconsider, like, let's maybe make a different choice.
I like that. I'd not heard that, but that's a good one. Because I do think it's like this line of like distraction is good, and like we need other skills also.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. I like that. I'm always too, like with like, not big choices, but with things when I'm like upset in the evenings, I always sleep on it. I feel like after I get sleep sometimes, like, and coffee, life is just significantly better sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what is your just like, I feel like kind of motivation, what keeps you going when things are hard? And I think right now sometimes just life seems heavy, you know, with all the COVID stuff and, you know, just like unknowns. The holidays look different for a lot of people. How just like do you like, take care of yourself and, put one foot in front of the other?
Yeah, I really like when I'm going to bed to think about the next thing that I'm excited for. And there's usually something coming up, whether it's a month from now or it's a year from now, or something that I want to do in my life. And I think like that's what I'm like looking forward to, and what will really set me up for those goals. So I had a really good friend who I met through a sport group, and she really inspired me because she was often talking about how she wanted to be a nurse, and how she couldn't do that with her eating disorder. And so it was really inspirational for me, because it was like, what career goals or just goals in general can I not do if I am engaging in behaviors? And so that was really helpful for me to think about, like, I really want to show up in this space more. And, I can't do that if I'm isolating and restricting or things like that. So
Yeah, that's really just, I think, so great. I love the like what to look forward to, and also just like I always say, like, what do you want in life? Like for me, my niece was about to be born when I entered treatment, and now she's 4.5 and so sassy, no clue where she came from. But and like it's sometimes almost just like, I have to like pinch myself when I'm like playing with her or something, because it's like this is what I wanted, to like be recovered and be able to like spend time with her and like be a good example in those ways. And so I do just love like, focusing on that. And now it's like, career and everything. And also, I just discovered like French bulldogs, and I really want a French bulldog puppy. So the other night I did watch an hour of French bulldog puppy YouTube videos.
yes,
So, yeah, so that's a good goal to look forward to eventually in life.
Yes, that's awesome. And being able to care for that dog and like yourself, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. So, okay, so people need to go follow you on your amazing account. It's the.lovelybecoming.
Yes.
Okay. And then I do kind of want to make a plug. So we always have our friends and family support group on Wednesday nights. That's virtual, so anyone can join that has, their loved ones experiencing an eating disorder. And tomorrow's like a holiday edition, so we're going to talk exactly kind of about like things not to say, things to say, like how to support a loved one who, is struggling this holiday season. And then on Wednesdays, we now also just launched, I think 2 weeks ago, our LGBTQIA support group for anyone experiencing an eating disorder that identifies as LGBTQ. And it's it's an amazing space. We have some great facilitators for that. That's virtual also. And then we always have Monday night and Saturday mornings for just anyone who's experienced an eating disorder, recovered from an eating disorder. I think what's amazing is we have like so many people, from like people who are just like, I've never gotten treatment, I've never seen a therapist or a dietitian, to like people who have been recovered for years. So it's like all stages, all age, 18 and up, but like 18 and all ages, like all genders. It's just like the first time I joined one, I was just like in awe. I'm like, I've never seen anything like this. Like, I've been in groups and it's so supportive on a virtual platform, which is cool because we're like bringing together people. So I think, COVID obviously had really hard things, but I think like things like being able to connect with you and like doing this live and like doing the virtual groups has been like really fun, just to like, connect with more people. And like I feel like now I have friends in like different parts of the country that post-COVID, like I want to visit.
Yes. And I think to your point too, like that's so helpful when people have recovered and there are people in there who are in the early stages, because it's so hopeful and exciting and encouraging and all the things. So
it's fun. It's cool. I know sometimes I'm like taking notes, like quotes people say or something. So that's always fun. I know. Thank you so much for joining me. You are amazing. And you truly just like, I know I've told you this before, like radiate joy. Like that's every time I see you, I'm like, that's just like, you just radiate it. So it's been amazing having you. So thank you
you
so
so much.
much. I
Thanks
know.
for letting me come on, and I'm glad we
Of
could connect.
course. I know. And hopefully we'll be able to do something again soon.
Yes.
Oh, yes. And we have our Giving Tuesday, Give Hope Day a week from today, where we are going to have like a fireside chat with some really cool people, and just like awesome things on social media all day and everything. So join us for that as well.
Yay.
Okay. Have a good rest of your day and a happy early Thanksgiving.
You too. And thanks
Thank
everyone
you.
for coming.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.